So welcome to this month's Harrison webinar. For those that don't know us, if you could move on a slide, please, Banu. So Harrison, we're a global psychometric test publisher working in areas of talent attraction, development, leadership, and engagement. Personally, I've worked in this industry for 20 years, working alongside HR professionals, learning and development professionals, helping them get the best out of the various products and services that they use and buy from companies such as Harrison. So we're delighted for you to join us. And it's fantastic that today's session is going to be run by one of my partners from our Turkey operation, Banu Aksoy. So delighted for her to be able to talk a little bit about some experience she had and successes with a client. So without further ado, Banu, please, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Nigel. Again, welcome. Good morning and good afternoon from wherever you are participating. Thanks for joining us for an hour. I'm Banu Aksoy. I would like to give a little information about myself. I'm living in lovely Istanbul. This picture is taken from near my office. I worked in corporate life as HR, as human resources, my last job being in Unilever. Then I started my consulting business. I have my own company, ADC Trio. And for like more than 15 years, I've been doing assessments and conducting assessment centers. In the last 7-8 years, I also work on the development of behavioral competencies. I mainly design workshops using assessment results and help individuals, teams, and companies to create awareness about behavioral competencies and design development plans for them. And today, I have also training in coaching, and I've been working with Harrison since 2017. And our subject today is, do your employees know how to be successful in your company? I'm going to talk a little bit about success, the behavioral side of it, and then share a case study where I use the results of assessments in order to create awareness for the employees, how to inspire them, and provide an actionable roadmap for themselves. But before we carry on, we want to know kind of who you are and what motivated you to join in the webinar. So we have a poll. Nigel, could you help me with that? We want to ask you whether what your main motivation today is: interested in Harrison assessments, interested in assessment of behavioral competencies, or the use of behavioral competency assessment results. We'll give you a couple of seconds. Okay, 75% is interested in the best use of behavioral competency assessment results. That's a good news because we're going to talk about that today. And 15% interest in assessment of behavioral competencies. We are going to talk about that because it's the first initial steps of the project. And interest in Harrison assessments, there's 10% there. And you will also hear some, we use Harrison assessments in this project, so you will hear about that. But if you would like to hear more about that, we would be very glad to contact you. We have my contact information at the end of the presentation. So thank you, Nigel. I want to talk a little bit about success, what we mean about success. So as you know, the success of a company, there are many elements about that makes a company successful. These factors include, effectively managing financial projects, understanding customers, identifying resources, allocating them. And we have business goals for that. So they are mainly what we want to achieve. And the other driver of success in business is behavior. Whether it's openly communicated or not, every company thinks that they will be successful if they behave in certain ways. Some emphasize teamwork, some individual contribution, some being innovative, or agility, result orientation, or willingness to learn. And usually it's a combination of some behaviors. And that's what we call company culture. When companies promote these behaviors, and employees practice these certain behaviors, then values are translated into action. And we say that the companies become well-oiled machines. So we set behavioral competencies, we customize them to our company, assess them, and we encourage people to behave in these ways. We try to create awareness. We want to encourage these people and inspire and provide an actionable roadmap to use their strengths and also to work on their development areas. But the issue comes up here because competencies, okay, they are set, assessing is more or less done. But when it comes to development planning, it's like a form that should be submitted to the manager or to the HR, it's like another form to fill out. But if we can do it in such a way that the individual goals are aligned with the company goals, and if the person is inspired to do so and has an action plan in hand, then the company and the individual is pedaling in the same direction. So our aim is to create that. I'm going to give you an example, a case study. My client, I cannot give the name of the client because I'm going to give some detailed information, but I have the permission to share these detailed information without giving the name. The client was a family-owned local business. It has more than 500 employees. 40 of them are managers and leaders. And they provide outsourced services, mainly in IT and a little bit in HR issues. What we heard from the client in the meetings is that, first of all, good news, the business is growing. They are recruiting people. The number of employees is increasing. And they invested in technical skills, so they're rather confident with that. But they also have increased turnover rates, and in technology sector, after also COVID, with the way working ways changed with remote working, people find jobs very easily in this sector. And they reported communication and teamwork issues between and within departments. They just cannot name it very precisely. But we understand that the departments are working in silos. They have a silo mentality. The word silo comes from farmyards. They are containers, large containers that keep grain. But in business life, when the company is working in silo mentality, every department has its own goals. They are running to their own goals. But the employee leaders or departments don't share the same goals. They do not share much information or processes, resources. So it decreases efficiency, wastes time, absolutely. And this creates a kind of a groupthink where challenges or conflicts are not encouraged. You just, follow the leader kind of mentality. So we heard these from the client, and they delivered some trainings about teamwork and effective communication, but not much has changed. And they're also getting some consultancy about restructuring their processes, their ways of working. So it was a very good time to work with the behaviors because they were also changing the way they work. And the initial expectations of the client was to take a photo of the management team, these 40 managers, refocus them, align them with company goals, with more collaboration, team-oriented structure, and of course, the development of this leadership team. So what we propose to our client is a proposed solution for the 40 managers made up of 6 steps. We planned these 6 steps, and we done it in like 6.5, 7 weeks. We've completed the project. I will go into every step, but as a general, I can say that we did an organizational diagnosis and analysis. Then we used the data here to prioritize some issues. And we went on the individual assessments. We did a kickoff meeting to inform the participants. We did feedback and feed-forward sessions. Then the development plans are submitted, and also some in-class or more structured trainings will be implemented. The findings were given to the training company as input. I will also talk about that. We used Harrison assessments in this project, and we did the organizational analysis. We ran behavioral competency reports for individuals and also traits and definition reports. As I mentioned, in the first step, we did an organizational analysis for 40 managers. We decided on the behavioral competencies. We used the competencies in the Harrison system because the client did not work on their competencies yet. They had some, but they're not well worked on. So we chose from the system these 6 competencies: provides direction, innovative, judgment, interpersonal skills, coaching, and handles conflict. And we sent the links to the employees. They filled out the Harrison inventory. It takes like 25-30 minutes. It's a very comprehensive analysis. And we had the report on the organization, or on the organizational level. I'm going to show you part of the report. I really like this report because it gives you in a couple of seconds what's going on in the company quite easily and at a glance. There is this traffic lights approach. When you see something is green, this represents the person is mostly competent, or this competency is a competent competency in the company. When it's yellow, it's partially competent. And when it's red, it certainly needs development. So if you look at the far left, this assorted behavioral competencies, there was only one person who was fulfilling these behavioral competencies. 28 people were partially competent, and 11 people needed really development. And when we look at the competencies one by one, it seems like provides direction and being innovative are the strengths of the company. Very many people are competent in that. Judgment is at expected level, but the development areas are mostly in interpersonal skills, coaching, and handles conflict. At this point, we do something we call company development plan. We suggest the things that the company could do by looking at these assessment results. This is both on how to sharpen their strengths and how to work on their development areas. But today I'm going to talk about how we dealt with the development areas. We have other suggestions on the strengthening the strengths also. We wanted to prioritize the issues. We talked about coaching. The group didn't have a structured coaching training before, so we went on with a structured training in coaching. And the discussion went mostly on interpersonal skills and handles conflict. As you can see here, 15 people are competent in interpersonal skills, but they still have issues in handling conflict. So we decided that we start by handling conflict competency. We tried to raise awareness about that. We gave feedbacks about this competency, and we did the development plans related to this competency first. In interpersonal skills, in the development of this competency, we designed team workshops. But today's issue is how we develop the handling conflict competency. I'm going to talk about that. We generated individual reports of the competency handling conflict, and in Harrison, every competency has a formula behind it. It's made up of a couple of behavioral traits. So it's very easy to understand. I'm going to show you a sample report. It's very easy to understand what affects the success of this behavior. Again, there's this traffic lights approach. Let me show you the report. This is the report of an individual. On the far left, the name is Garland Lamb. And this person got 56% in this handling conflict competency. It's certainly a development area for this person. And below you can see the yellows and greens. And I don't want to go into very much detail about the technical side of the formula, but there are essential traits, desirable traits, and traits to avoid. The formula is made up of 3 parts. And if you follow the traffic lights here, even though this is a development area for the person, he still has some strengths. For example, he's warmth and empathetic, it's green, and he's assertive. That means he can relate with others very easily. He can put his wants and needs forward. So these 2 areas are very good points at handling conflict. And when we're giving feedback, we talk about this, use this when handling conflict. But he needs also self-acceptance and self-improvement traits are okay. He has a self-esteem and he's not defensive. But he needs to develop on being more comfortable with conflict. He's not the most diplomatic person. They are yellow, so they need some development here. And he may not be the most helpful or collaborative person. So if we want to develop this person, we have to work on these traits first. So Harrison gives us really a very quick glance and very precise information about where to use our strengths and where to deal with which traits to deal with in developing the competency. I will come to that, but I want to carry on with the kickoff meeting. We did a kickoff meeting and we really give importance to this because it's very important for the engagement and the buy-in of the individuals, this management team. We gave information about the project background. We talked about the findings of the organizational analysis, why we're doing it, why we're dealing with handling conflict, and also the steps of the project, what they will be experiencing, and also expectations from employee, because I think self-accountability is very important in developing a competency. We're all adults and we have to be convinced on developing something. We have to understand why we're developing it, and we have to take accountability. We have to take the ropes of our lives into our hands, and it's our responsibility to decide on whether we will develop in this competency and whether we will have action about that. So we talk about the self-accountability issue in the kickoff meeting too. And we suggest some points on what to do before, during, and after feedback. And I don't know about your culture, but in Turkish culture, we're not very used to getting feedback. So we, emphasize that, you don't always like what you hear in the feedback. That's okay. It's just take your time, reflect, think about it, and also ask maybe some people or ask the assessor consultant and take your time there, but find something valuable in it. That's important, I think, in the feedback. And it's our approach to feedback also. And since we are all adults and this is adult learning, it's important that we inform people, and also they have an area where they can ask us about the project or the steps or our approach of giving feedback. And when we do it, we do the kickoff meetings, people appreciate it very much. And then we proceed with the feedback and feed forward sessions. We have 2 sessions here. In the first one, the consultant and the employee meets. Our aim is to create awareness about this competency handles conflict. In the first session, we talk a little bit about Harrison methodology, because Harrison is not a personality inventory. We work on preferences. Why this is important? Because you can change your preferences. You can always make better, wiser choices. And if you have a mind shift in some place, you can always better your choices. And we talk about that. Then we talk about how to read the report, because they will have their reports and they will have time to think about it, to read it, to reflect about it. And we give feedback about the report. And there is some homework. The homework is they're asked to get feedback from manager, peer, or others. This is, again, very related to adult learning. They utilize their experiences. They get real-life examples from others. And also they have a look at the development planning sheet. But we say, no worries, we will fill out together. I think it's the area where people need help the most, because they understand, what they should be doing, but they don't usually know how to do it, even though they know what to do it. And in the second session, consultant, employee, manager, and HR meets. It's more crowded. We want to deepen awareness here, inspire, and provide a roadmap. It takes 60 minutes. And we work on the development planning sheet. So after the first session, we sent this development planning sheet to the participant. Only 2 areas are filled out: the wants and employment expectations areas. These are data from the Harrison reports. Wants is the individual's wants. For example, in this case, he wants challenge. He likes to have difficult tasks. He wants to lead. That's good news, because he's one of the managers in the company, and he wants frankness from others. And employment expectations tell us the expectations of this individual from the manager or from the company. And he wants opinions valued, he wants room for development and appreciation. So he has time to think about this development planning. He can fill out, or he can wait for the second session. We'll do it together then. And in the second session, feed-forward session, we filled out the strong traits, the traits needs development. We talked about the individual report. He was a warm and empathetic person, assertive, healthy, has healthy self-esteem and not defensive. And traits that need development: comfort with conflict, being diplomatic, helpful, and collaborative. And we know the wants and employment expectations of the person. By the way, the individual can change these. We started with Harrison, but he had time to think, he had time to reflect. If he wants to add or, delete something here, it's his choice. He will do it. It's just we want to be on the same track. So when we talk about the insights that he gained from this reports, getting feedback from our feedback, we want to come to an insight. And these are real examples, by the way. And he said, I'm warm and social, relate with others easily, and can put forward my needs and wants straightforward. I want frankness from others. I don't get defensive. That's why people perceive me as honest and ethical. This is great, because these are his strengths. I will use my strengths, but not everyone is like that. I may be blunt at times and people get frustrated. I want to lead others with a balanced communication style when needed. This is important because this includes both his awareness. He related it with his wants, and he has awareness about other people. And also he puts a barrier here, but it's okay. he says, I want to do it, but when needed. We don't want to change everything, because he's frank and he's both honest and ethical at the same time, but he needs some diplomacy in his communication. So the first goal was communicating with diplomacy. We write the insights here also because we don't want anybody to forget about it. And this is also sent to the manager. So it's always, in our hands that we come to this point, we come to this awareness, and let's not forget. The forgetting curve is, it's easy. And the other part is the actions. We recommend that the actions should be very practical and very doable. And one of the actions we wrote down here is to select 5 most important people with whom you interact at work, give feedback to them, but first prepare a plan, reflect on what I like about them or their contribution and communicate it. He's going to give a little tough feedback maybe, but he will reflect before about their contribution. And if he communicates it, it will be a more diplomatic way of saying things. Another one was to select 3 people that my diplomacy has been lacking, have a conversation with them, ask them to say something when my conversation lacks diplomacy. So he will know what he's doing at the time he's doing. And these are very actionable points here. Another goal we selected for the same person is he's not the most helpful and collaborative person. He chose to work on exploring helpful interactions. Why? Because he had this awareness. I want my opinions valued. It's in the employment expectations. But I realized that I do not take others' views into consideration much. Especially when I'm working with my internal customers, I will collaborate more. I will show that I value their opinions. I will be an inclusive leader. And the action was, what are 3 important decisions that I need to make? Who can impact my decision? Who might help? Ask them. And in what way the decision is improved? Thank for the contribution. And there's some good news when working with competencies. We separate the person into competencies, but in fact, the person is a whole. So when you work with one behavior, the other behaviors are also affected positively, especially the behaviors in the same category. For example, remember, interpersonal skills was also a development area in this company. But if this person works on exploring helpful interactions, communicating with diplomacy, it will most probably will also have positive impact in the interpersonal skills competency. So on the right track. And step 5 was development plan submitted to HR. We did in the session, we did the actions, we did the development planning, but they still have time to work on it. So they work on it. Later, they send it to the manager or HR. And the last step was input to training company, which is, I think, very important because this detailed analysis from the assessment results is shared with the training company, and the context of the training is designed accordingly. For example, they also had a in-class training about handling conflict, and one of the development traits that need development in this competency was comfort with conflict. Comfort with conflict is one of the traits that make up this competency. And in almost all participants, it was a development area. So when designing the content of the training company will give more time to this issue. And it's very cultural thing because in Turkish, conflict has a negative connotation. it's like we don't want to get into conflict very much, you know. But when we see that conflict adds value to the, you know, to the input, or when we have conflicts in a good way, then we come to a better point and a win-win solution. The management team maybe needs a paradigm shift about this, and the training will include this. So we use our money, time, and effort in a very precise way, and we'll use this time to reflect on the real issues rather than a general, points in handling conflict competency. So my last slide is we transferred values into action. As a summary, what we did an organizational analysis. We looked at the root causes, the priorities. We formed a company development plan, and it's a very data-driven analysis. And it's helped us to prioritize things very to the point. Then we proceeded with the individual assessments, and we aligned the company and the individual. They learned about the formula to behavioral success, key strengths, and also gaps. They reflected on their own preferences. And with these focused discussions, we facilitated awareness. And the last step, we designed the development plans in a very collaborative way. And we tried to balance the traits. We tried to inspire people. We use their strengths, and also we use their wants and employment expectations. We reminded them about these. We provided guidance, and in a very practical way. And it's very, I give importance to adult learning. It's very relevant to the points in adult learning. It's very self-directed, self-accountable, and also they make choices for themselves. And it's time efficient also, thanks to Harrison. And the customer is happy. And we are happy. I think my enthusiasm is to see this awareness and this inspiration that we can develop our competencies. It was also a very nice experience on my side. Thank you for listening. So we now have some time for the questions. And we would love to hear from you today in the chat, and also later I give my contact information here. If you can write in the chat your takeaways from the session, and also your feelings or what you are curious about, we would be glad. And now it's time for questions. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you, Banu. It's great to see real life examples and hearing about those. And we've got some questions, and the kind of the two I want to kick off with, one from David and one from Kim, because they're kind of related. Is so I'm just going to read it straight off the screen. Once you've handed over to the training company, how much interaction do you have with them developing the training solutions? And linked to that, David's question is, how familiar are the training company with Harrison and our methodologies and such like?
Great questions, because in the first projects, I was not very involved in the training context, designing the training context. But later we saw that opportunity, and I gave not a maybe a level 1 accreditation course, but a one-day training about Harrison to both the managers of the training company and also to the trainers, because sometimes they do, for example, the participants take their reports with them in the training session, and they start an icebreaker talking about their reports. So the trainer also needs to have some information about Harrison and this traffic lights approach, how to approach this. So we did this kind of a training.
Yeah.
Also, of course, I don't get too much involved in the training context, but if they need help, I am always there to help, because I think it's like the I think it's very important that they get insight from us and from assessment findings.
Yeah. And that's right. Yeah, they, if you know the expression, though, that the trainers that they didn't need to know all the bells and whistles about how to use about the methodology, but they kind of needed a base level understanding to be able to contextualize. So another question: any feedback from the employees? How did the employees find about the process and how did that land?
I have feedback from the employees, because I later did some workshops with them. It was not finished with this project. I did team workshops for development of interpersonal skills competency. So I was with those people in a couple of sessions.
Yeah.
Well, it's not easy for me to say very good things about the project, but they did.
Yes, it is. Come on, don't be shy.
They did, and I think what drew their attention most was they were given time to think, time to reflect, and they felt that they made the choices.
Right.
They selected the goals. Of course, we directed them, we provided some direction there, but it was their awareness. And if it was something else and it was not written in the, wants or employment or traits, somewhere in the reports, it's okay. You can start somewhere. It's the most important thing. It starts from somewhere.
Yeah.
So they felt free, kind of free,
Yeah, agreed. And that's really good. David saying do you want to stop sharing your slides now so we can yeah. And I'll read this. So another thing that David made another point, it's talking about that obviously it's great that there's a set of off the shelf, as it were, leadership competencies. Now I do know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it to you for the benefit of the attendees. If a company has their own set of competencies, can they be worked in? Can you?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we do really good as the Turkish team. We can customize the behavioral competencies that the company is using, and we can embed it in the Harrison system. And it's a very user-friendly system, so it doesn't take too much time. Then they can use their own reports. And that's, I think, very valuable for the company.
Right.
And everybody's talking about the same, same concepts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it kind of gives you a common language to use. So the next one, I'm just going to read straight out from the chat. And apologies, I hope Dr. Unan, I hope I've pronounced that right. So he says that they say this is a great example for an alternative to a pre-training even survey, and I'd agree 100%. With this, we might replace these surveys, but do the employees share their personal development plans with the training and development company?
We didn't in this project. We didn't. We could, I think it depends on the company culture. They could, but we should ask, or we should maybe propose in the first in the stages, somewhere in the stages of the project. We can propose. Thank you.
Great.
A good idea, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So another question from Kim: do you ever go back into companies and run assessments again to see how people have developed?
Yes, and we love that, really. Because we can, it's like real measurement. The issue there is we don't do it very often. For example, sometimes they ask us, could we do it before the training, after the training? But we don't like to do that, because yes, training gives, you understand with training, you understand what to do, but it's not in your behavior yet. So the person needs time, but after a year, we would like to do that after some development actions are done, trainings are delivered, then yes, it takes time, but yearly we could do that.
Yeah.
And we will in this project also.
And certainly the Harrison perspective is very much, it allows you to measure, allows you to show impact, it allows you to justify whatever they've spent with you to do this is actually achieving something, which those learning and development professionals know that's always one of the biggest challenges, is evidencing the impact and the benefit. Great. I think that's all the questions we've got today, so we can kind of give everyone back 15 minutes. I'm going to share one last thing in the chat. So our next webinar is in May. So there's a link for registration on LinkedIn. That one, as you can see, Harrison, the best kept secret in psychometric assessment. So it'll be delving a bit deeper into some of the specifics of the Harrison tool, and I'll be running that one. But thanks again, Banu. We really enjoyed that. We've had some requests already for recordings and slides, so I can facilitate that. And so again, thanks to everyone for attending, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you for the opportunity, really. I'm very enthusiastic in developing others and developing myself. It was a good opportunity for me too. Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, everyone. Great. Thanks, Banu. Thanks, everyone. See you again soon.